Hello comrades and welcome to part 2 of the Meng 1/35th scale T-10M tank build. So as you can see, we've made some progress on the tank. It doesn't look like it, but trust me, there is quite a bit to put on this tank, and you really want to slow down and make sure that you're getting the parts on correctly, and getting them off the sprue can be a bit of a challenge, just so you're not breaking the parts, because some of these parts, as you can see, like with the those parts right there, they're pretty delicate, and where the parts meet the sprue, it's quite thick. So if you're not gentle, they're going to break. So needless to say, take your time with it, and don't break any parts, because otherwise you're going to be in a world of hurt, because some of these finer parts are right where you're going to be looking at your tank. So anyway, moving on. What we're dealing with since the last video mostly is some of the bigger parts. I'm going to get into the road wheels in a minute, and the turret and things like that. So basically what I wanted to cover is, again, when I build my tanks, if you've been following my channel for a while, I kind of go here, there, and everywhere with the instruction booklet, mostly because I like to get as many parts on the tank as possible, paint it, and then kind of go backwards a bit with the road wheels, and then put them on and things like that, and go from there. So anyway, we're working with the smoke bombs and fuel drums. So if you've built a fuel drum, it's pretty simple. It's like two halves, and then the top and bottom piece. So it's no different with this. Just got to make sure that the straps line up, things like that. So with this one, you want to be a little bit careful. You want to build the smoke bombs and the drums, and then I'm going to take them off now, so they're not glued on. So after you've built these and they're dried and whatnot, you want to place the structures on your tank. But as these are drying, you want to place these on top, because you don't want to just place these pieces on the structures, let them dry, and then go to put these on, because this might dry crooked, and then you go to place these on, and then they're drying or you're placing them like that. Make sense? So because you're going to paint these probably separate, because it's going to get kind of hard to paint, to glue this on now and then try to get paint underneath. Probably won't work. So that's probably a very important thing to consider. So, and there's a lot of these little pieces on, so I'm going to take these off now. So that's exactly how I did it. And again, these pieces here are very delicate. As you can see, there's a lot of them on here. And that took a lot of time getting these off the sprues without breaking any. And luckily, I didn't break any. Other things you're building, and they can be optional, right, are these stowage pieces. Again, nothing like these bigger pieces aren't glued on. And you don't actually have to have these on the tank if you don't want to. Because I have seen some pictures of this tank without these stowage, I'm going to call them boxes or containers, on the tank. So that's totally up to you. So they give you that option, which is kind of cool. So again, option. I'll leave that one on there for the sake of the video. I have done some work on the turret, as you have seen, and with this model kit, you have the option of putting this on here if you want. If you want a bigger stowage thing on the back of your tank, or you can have like a canvas roll in the back of your tank. I have seen some pictures where they still have this on the back of the tank, as well as the canvas roll on the side. Again, totally up to you what you want to do. I haven't decided yet. Again, I'm just putting parts on. And again, with these here, you can see the white, that's not broken. That's just where the sprue met the part. I think they could probably done a better job of maybe not molding it, but attaching it to the sprue, instead of placing attachment points here. But anyway, moving on. There's two storage boxes in the front. These are built actually in three parts. There's the bottom part, the middle part, and then obviously the lid. And now this is kind of a cool option. I got one closed. Nothing's glued, But this is maybe a potential option that you could do, is maybe have this one, if you're displaying this like in a diorama, maybe have this one open. I've never seen a picture of it open before, so I don't know what the inside really looks. As you can see, it's loose there. I am going to do this in a diorama. I have some crew figures, as you can see right here. So I do have the potential to have maybe this open, and maybe have a guy, you know, rooting around in there. It's kind of strange how they have this opening this way. You know, you think, because, you know, for crew walking around, you think they would have it opening this way for ease of access. But the latches are there. So it actually opens up this way. It's kind of weird, because you'd be walking this way. You think it would open up that way. Because that is correct. See the latch? And then those are the springs, so it'd go this way. But anyway, again, and that's another option too, is you don't actually have to have these on. So the turret, I just finished gluing the other day. It is dry. It does traverse, and the gun elevates. I'm still waiting on the metal barrel to come in the mail. It hasn't come in yet, so there's not much to say for the turret as yet. Really, it's just a matter of gluing on these parts. I always use a little extra glue, as you can see, without losing focus, because it is welded on pretty good from the pictures that I've seen in the past. Same with these, you know, attachment points, things like that, for the tow cable, things like that. I didn't glue in right there. I left it loose, so I'm hoping I can shove the, actually this piece exactly right here. I'm hoping there's enough give where I can, once I attach the tow cable, I can slide it underneath and then attach it underneath this little hook right here, opposite that side. So moving on to the road wheels, I have them in these little cups right here. I marked it B1 and B2, so I know which ones, you know, are which. These ones, again, I had to be gentle with these. They had a nice seam line right down the center of them, just like the Sherman tanks. I don't know why. Every tank I build always seems to have a nasty seam line going right down the center. I did my best to sand them down, but I felt like if I kept sanding, I was going to sand right down to the detail. So I did my best to sand them down, but I felt as if, like if I kept pressing hard, I was going to like break this thing. So again, be careful. I sanded it down, you know, enough. There's still a bit of a line there, but I'm just going to leave it as is. I just wanted to get it down to you know, enough where I was happy. But again, I was holding it somewhat gingerly, because I felt if I put too much pressure on, it would snap. Not that it would, but it just this felt brittle to me. And I felt, again, if I kept on sanding, it would just sand the detail right down to where I was, you know, it's going to get the detail away. So I did the best I could with this. But I don't know why there's always a seam line going right down the center of every road wheel of every model tank I built. But again, as I was taking them off the sprue, I made sure that I was separating, you know, the road wheels from the B1 to B2. Okay, this is B2 and that's B1. So it's just something to consider when you are doing the road wheels. Make sure you are separating them. So it is coming along nice. As you can see, I'm starting to work with one of the turret pieces. I'm going to have to paint these separate because there's some clear parts that needing to go in. So I'm going to be spraying this separate and then installing it, which is kind of a cool feature to this model kit. It goes in as modules, and then you just put the module in the turret. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So it's coming along nicely. So far, so good with this one. The tracks look interesting. Oh, another thing I noticed is because I got a crew here that says from the 1960s to the 1970s. I was really vigilant on flipping through to in the instruction booklet because I noticed that for this piece right here, they give you two different options, right? For this piece right here. And if you look on the on the dates of the tanks, right? Like this is 1968, and they're using this variant, right? And the only one that changed it up was this one right here, the 72 to 74. They were using that one. So if you are building like a period tank and you have a crew from the 70s and whatnot, you'll want to use this one because it looks like that's the only version where they changed that up. So if I were to use like this crew right here, 1960s to the 70s, maybe, I mean, I'm assuming they used that. This is the uniform of this crew from the 60s to the 70s, and then after the 70s, like 1970, they changed the uniform. So I'm trying to stick within the period, right? So I chose that one because it seems like after 1970, they went to that one. So just something to consider. I always pay attention, right? 1960, that one. 72 to 74-ish, that one. Something I noticed. So anyway, and then obviously I started gluing those together and whatnot. Just little things here and there, getting it ready for painting and then the tracks, obviously. So that'll be a lot of fun when that time comes. So thanks so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe as always. And I look forward to your comments and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye.